Okay, it is time to finish up lesson 2 for the summer supplement. We're going to take a look at what we need to do a little bit differently when there's 3 fractions instead of just 2. There's not really that much different. It's just a matter of we have to make sure that all 3 denominators are in common rather than just the 2 in this case. The same rules work for subtraction. You need to make sure that you'll have a common denominator across all 3. So taking a look at this example right here, we will need to first factor our denominators. Keep in mind x squared minus 1 is the difference of 2 squares. X squared is a square. 1 times 1 is 1. So x plus 1 times x minus 1. This does show up quite a bit in the practice problems, so this little trick right here, don't miss that. 4/5 is already factored. So when we start looking at the least common denominator, we'll start with this fraction. X minus 1 is the piece that we get from our first fraction, but we need to multiply it times anything the second one has that's not already accounted for. X minus 1, alright, already got that, but we need an x plus 1. So we need to make sure we grab an x plus 1 for our least common denominator. Then we check our third fraction, and we find that this one has a 5 that neither one of these two have. So we need to make sure that we grab a 5 for our least common denominator. So our least common denominator includes what's here that's not here, and then what's here that's not in either one of those locations. So here's our least common denominator. So now we need to make sure that they all match. So this first one, what's it missing? It has the x minus 1, but it still needs an x plus 1 and a 5. So for this very first rational expression, we need to multiply numerator and denominator times 5 times x plus 1. 5 times x plus 1 times x plus 2. 5 times x plus 1 times x minus 1. Then we take a look at the next one. What does this one need? It has an x plus 1 and an x minus 1. Okay, got those two. But it needs a 5. So we'll multiply numerator and denominator here by 5. There's our 5 and our 5. Now this one needs just about everything. It has a 5, but it needs an x minus 1 and an x plus 1. And that has to happen in the numerator and in the denominator. So we need to multiply that x plus 1, x minus 1, x plus 1, x minus 1 times both the 4 and the 5. Now after this is all taken care of, we need to start simplifying. We need to start bringing them all over the same denominator. In the interest of the simplicity of writing, I like to put it over the same denominator as I'm simplifying. So let's take a look here. I put everything over the same denominator because that's what the whole purpose of having common denominators is for in the first place. X plus 1 times x plus 2, if we begin to multiply them out, the first term's x times x is x squared. 2x, 1x, and 2. This 5x just comes from here. That one's already taken care of. And then here, if I multiply x plus 1 times x minus 1, we get x squared minus 1. It's the sum and the difference of the same thing for a binomial. And it comes out to be like that. If you need to multiply out the long way, first, outer, inner, last, go ahead and do that. and you're still going to get x squared minus 1. Then you need to do another simplifying step. We're going to distribute this 5, and we're going to distribute this 4. So what you really ought to do is anticipate that. First we can simplify it a little bit. 2x plus x is 3x. I went ahead and multiplied, distributed the 4. Then we can distribute the 5. What I did is I erased up here and brought this up. So we'll distribute this 5. This is just the step you just wrote. 5 times x squared is 5x squared. 5 times 3x is 15x. And 5 times 2 is 10. Then just like in any other simplifying, you combine the like terms. 5x squared and 4x squared is 9x squared. 15x and 5x is 20x. 10 minus 4 is 6. And if you'll notice, I've got this written out as being the actual answer. The reason that it's the actual answer is there's nothing that you can do to factor this. If we wanted to check to see if you can factor it, we could do 9 times 6, 54, and see if there was any way that we could find a pair that you could add that would give you a 20. We'd check 1 and 54, and that doesn't do it. We'd check 2 and 27, and that doesn't do it. That would give you 29. We'd check 3 and let's see, 3 goes in 3 times 18, and that only gives you 21. It doesn't give you the 20 in the middle. 4 is not a factor. 5 is not a factor. 6 is a factor. 6 times 9, that gives you 15, so that doesn't work. 7 is not a factor. 8 is not a factor. 9, well, then we start getting repeats. So we've checked everything. There is no factoring of the numerator, so there's nothing that can cancel out. No common factors across. So we've just figured out that this is indeed the final answer. Nothing that you can do about it. No reducing necessary. But we should always check. Should always check to see if there's something that can be reduced. Okay, so this is the final answer. Okay, so there you have it. That's the end of lesson 2 with this. So what you need to do is make sure that you go back and do all of the lesson 2 practice problems. The complete solutions are there. Make sure you try them on your own. But if you get stuck on something, or if you want to make sure that you're right, make sure that you look at the answer slide. It might be good to do your own reveal tool. In other words, either take a piece of paper and cover over part of the answer, or even if you need to print out that specific page, I think your Adobe gives you the option to print out just individual pages if you need to see the answers just one step at a time. I did go by steps on there, but you should make yourself do all the problems so that you can get really, really good at it. This whole supplement is for you, to help you be ready for your pre-calc class. The information that I'm going over right now will be taught next year in Chapter 1. Not the very beginning, not the first day or anything like that, but it will be taught in Chapter 1, so it's not too far in the future coming. So you need to make sure that you've got your feet under you before you get into that class. All right, well, have a great day, and Hopefully you'll be done those practice problems pretty soon and ready to jump into Lesson 3. Lesson 3 will be the last lesson. It may or may not be done in 1 or 2 parts, so you're getting pretty close to the end. Have a great day, and God bless.